I gotta say, I did not think someone could make a song about the blockchain and it sound cool, man. But I actually like that track. It's pretty cool, and I think it just kind of feeds into me. The level of excitement that we have, Mike. I know you and I talk a lot behind the scenes, and we talk about this project and where we are, and how excited we are about this technology and what the future holds. And it's just kind of cool to be able to express that in a lot of different ways. So, man, appreciate you and all that you're doing. And guys, I'll say this again. Mike made a good point. Grab a pen, grab a piece of paper. I've been told I say a lot and I say it fast, and it is because I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I want to make sure you get a chance to write down any questions you have. We'll get them answered for you at the conclusion of the call on some one-on-one or some group sessions. But hey, let's kind of talk a little bit about what's going on here, man. And I mean, first of all, let's just establish this for a second, if this will change. I want to show you guys that myself, neither I nor Mike, man, are owners of the company. Okay, we are not. This presentation is intended for information and educational purposes only. Yeah, I want you to understand something, that we are offering a business opportunity, and every opportunity has some level of inherent risk. So we want you to basically do your research and then determine if this is for you or not for you. We both looked at it and it made sense to us. We did our research, we came back satisfied, and we decided that this is something we wanted to engage in for the betterment of ourselves and our families. We're just asking you to take the same responsibility and you do the same for you. With that said, guys, what I'm going to cover here is really simple. First, I'm going to talk about the offer that is Cryptex.to. Exactly what is it? Who is Cryptex? What are they offering? What do they do? And what is in it for you? Now, I promise you, when I get to the part where I show you what Cryptex is actually offering, you're going to have this dominant thought in your brain. There's no way that this is real. So therefore, we've added another segment to the presentation where we're going to show you the proof that this offer is real. We're going to give you the benefit of a lot of the research that we and others have done. So you can actually, at least if you want to do your own research, you have a basis to start off with. And then finally, we're going to talk to you about the optional referral program. I have yet to see something this strong and this infectious, where once people actually understand what it is and they come to the conclusion that they want to do it, that they're unable to keep it to themselves. They have to kind of pass it on. They just feel compelled to. So if you're going to do that anyway, we're going to show you how you can profit from actually going out there and simply spreading the word about this incredible wealth creation vehicle. So guys, let's get started. And I just want you to imagine, I want to get people in the right mind frame, if you will, but just imagine driving down a street in your town, your city, wherever you are, and you saw this billboard up and it said, hey, bank loans. And it can be any bank in your town, TD Bank, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, but bank loans, $30,000 or $40,000, guaranteed approval, no credit or income check, and no ID required. In other words, they don't even want to know your name if you don't want to give it. And it's still guaranteed as long as you can produce $100 processing fee. Now, if you saw that and you decided to drive down to that bank, you'd notice two things. Number one is the line would probably stretch across the horizon of people showing up with their $100 bill in the air, excited to get a $30,000 or $40,000 loan. And if they were actually giving out those loans, you'd probably be pretty certain that if you came back in about a month or 2 months, that bank would probably be out of business, because let's trust me, just people walking out with 30 and 40 grand and the bank doesn't even know who they gave the money to, chances are many of those people simply won't come back. Well, guys, as unbelievable as that is, I want to show you how Cryptex has taken some of the elements of this and made it an absolute reality, but set it up so that the bank can't lose and all the other parties involved in it, including yourself, simply cannot lose. Now, Cryptex is a community-based project utilizing a blockchain-based DeFi staking protocol. I'm going to explain that here in a second, but they maintain partnerships with banks, insurance companies, and individual account holders like me and you, and it's all set up so that everybody can profit from this relationship. Now, they offer this unique DeFi hybrid contract consisting of two parts, a smart contract and a decentralized Oracle network to support that smart contract. There are currently over 800,000 account holders worldwide. That number is growing every single day. And finally, this is not new. Cryptex has been around since 2016. We're now entering into the 9th year. So this is a company and a project, I should say, that has proven itself over and over and over again, year after year, and is still churning out incredible success for people every single day. Now, staking, if you don't know what that is, it's simple. It's a process of keeping your crypto assets locked for a contractual period of time in order to generate passive income. We all like passive, right? We all like to be able to generate income when we don't have to aggressively work for it. Now, these locked assets, they protect the network's ability to generate crypto profits. And as a reward, the staker slash participant, guys, that's us, we receive daily returns. And we're going to show you those returns in a moment. This is very similar to getting a CD, a certificate of deposit from your bank. If you walk into your bank right now and said, give me your rates, your interest rates you'll pay me on CDs, you're going to notice a very specific pattern. If you say I want a 6-month CD, you're getting one interest rate. If you want it for a year, it's going to be a higher interest rate. If you want it for 2 or 3 years, a much higher interest rate, because what your bank is basically saying is the longer we know that we get to hold your money and make profits with it, the bigger return we can give you for letting us hold that money for longer periods of time. You're going to see Cryptex is doing the exact same thing. Now, what they've done is they've put together this incredible profit partnership between banks, insurance companies, smart contracts, and you. Everybody has their role here to make sure that everybody wins in the end. So let's go through it. Your responsibilities are threefold. Number one, you're going to create a free account with a Cryptex using only an email address and a password. That's right. There's no other information that they require from you. They don't even need your name. I'm going to show you why here in a second, but just an email address and a password. The second thing you're going to do is you're going to pay a $100 processing fee for each DeFi staking contract that you want. I'm going to show you that in a moment. And then you're simply going to decide if you want your contract or contracts to be 3-year terms, 5-year terms, or 7-year terms. And remember, you can get only a maximum of 80 contracts. You cannot get 81 or 82, no exceptions to the rule. I'm going to show you why people actually want to figure out a way around that rule when they see the value of the contracts. Now, for the bank's part, the bank makes a loan or loans directly to the staking contract on your behalf. Now, those loans can be in one of two amounts. If you're getting a 3-year term, they're going to be for $30,240. I'll show you an example in a second. If you're getting a 5 or 7-year contract, they're going to make a loan to the contract on your behalf of $43,200 for each of those staking terms. Now, for their part, the bank's going to receive 6.75 interest annually on each loan, and the bank is also going to get their initial loan capital back at the termination point of the loan, 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years down the road, before you or I get to touch anything, and make sure that the bank is made whole right away. Now, for some further security for the bank, there's an insurance company that's going to step in, and they're going to insure that capital, the bank's capital, and they're insuring it in the staking wallet against catastrophic loss or default. That means if anything happens to Cryptex, it falls apart, if Bitcoin crashes through the ground, if any of these things happen, it doesn't matter to the bank because they'll still get the money back because the money's insured. The reason why the insurance company does this is because they receive automatic payments made to them every single month for $210 for all of the 3-year loans and $300 per month for all of the $43,200 loans, which are for the 5 and 7-year terms. So again, the insurance company is going to get paid these premiums. They're getting paid every single month, on time, every time. They get to make a lot of money for insuring that capital. And finally, once again, this removes all risk from the bank. Remember, the bank's making a loan directly to the staking contract, so you can't even touch the funds, which means they don't have to worry about you running off with the money and going to the casinos or anything of that nature, which is why your background is not critical to this process. And again, even if something happens to Cryptex, the bank is still insured against catastrophic loss. They still get their money back. Finally, the smart contract. This is where all the magic happens. It does all the heavy lifting. The smart contract is going to calculate the daily profits, which is micro compounding. It's going to average about 0.1 to 0.3% per day. So not big numbers. No, by no stretch of the imagination are these big numbers, but you're going to be amazed what happens with that small micro compounding over 3, 5, and 7 years. The other thing the smart contract is going to do is going to pay the bank its annual interest as well as its initial loan capital back at the end. And it's also going to pay the insurance company every single month, which means you don't have to worry about making any payments or staying on top of it or doing any calculations. And then finally, after everyone is paid and after all the compounding has happened for the 3, 5, or 7 years, the remaining profits left over are sent to you. That's why we're doing this, is because we get the remaining profits. Now, you'll notice when you get your free sign up into Cryptex, you're going to notice a few things when you go back there, that you're going to have some options here. You've got their DeFi hybrid 36-month, which is their 3-year contract. You can see that's a $100 processing fee. You've got the DeFi hybrid 60. That's the 5-year contract, also $100. And you got the DeFi hybrid 84, again, $100 processing fee. That's all you're responsible for. And for that processing fee, the bank makes the loans to the staking contract. You'll also notice that they have a promotion going on right now, this DeFi hybrid 36 pack. The pack is $1,000, which would normally be enough for 10 contracts. But as you can see here, you're getting 15 contracts. So 5 bonus contracts if you get one of those packs. There is a strict limit of 3 of those DeFi hybrid packs. You cannot get more than them, even though you may want to. Now, with that said, let's get to the big decision, which is, do you want a 3-year, 5-year, or 7-year staking contract, or some combination of them based off of your own strategy? Remember, you can get up to 80 contracts. Here's where the value proposition comes in. Remember, you are only responsible, let's look at the 3-year contract, for a $100 processing fee. For that processing fee, $30,240 is loaned to the staking contract on your behalf. And that $30,240 will start to micro compound. And over 3 years, during that time, insurance companies being paid, banks being paid. And at the end of the 3 years, the $30,240 goes back to the bank. And what's left over is for you. And what's left over is a little over $35,000. So make no mistake, what we're offering is powerful. I want you to remember, though, you're not turning $100 into $35,000. Please don't walk away from this webinar underneath that misconception. You're getting a loan for $30,240. That micro compounded gets up to a big enough number that even after it's paid back, there's $35,000 left over. For the 5-year contract, again, a bigger loan, 43 grand. So it's about 50% larger, and it's going to compound for 2 years longer. Guys, what it's going to turn into for you after 5 years, 471 grand. And finally, for the 7-year, I love this because this gets almost into the land of ridiculous. That's what I felt when I first saw it. The 7-year, which is even 2 years longer, micro compounded, 1.5 million. I have these plus signs because it's actually end change, but I think these numbers are big enough for you to understand just why everybody is so excited about this. Now, this is what it actually looks like in practice. Okay, you go out and get a contract. You select it, what term you want. You pay the $100 processing fee, and the loan is instantly made by the bank to the staking contract. So in your back office, here's what you would see. This person picked one 3-year contract, and instantly a loan from the bank came into the staking pool for $30,240. That's a loan. Based off of that loan amount, within 24 to 48 hours, there's going to start to be some micro compounding. It's going to happen 7 days a week. And that micro compounding is going to be based off of that initial starting capital, which is not yours. Think about that for a moment. You're going to get the compound based off of 30,000 without risking your own $30,000. That is the most powerful and magical thing here about Cryptex. Now, the elephant in the room, let's face it, guys, I already know. I told you in the beginning what you were going to say in your brain the moment you saw this, which is, no way is this real, right? So that's the first elephant in the room, which is this real? So let's show some of the research that we did. We went out and we found people who had been in Cryptex for years and who had actually gone out and cashed out a bunch of contracts and had some success. And this is just the back office of one of those people that we found. So this person, this first withdrawal was back on January 10th of 2023, and it was for $98,000, $98,800 to be exact. 1 day later, January 11th, they're taking out $89,487. A couple of months later, on March 15th, 100 grand. March 18th, another 100 grand. March 20th, 112,000, and March 21st, $100,580. So again, just over a 2-month span, that's more money than a lot of people make in 10 years or so. And they were able to do that in 2 months just because a few years earlier, they got a bunch of contracts in Cryptex, and then they went and shared it with some people. And now as they were actually cashing out, these people were able to go take their withdrawals and actually live off of that money, having set themselves up very nicely for a 3-year run. So that was pretty powerful. The other thing we did, though, is we found a gentleman, his name was Mo, who actually was open to videotaping and documenting this entire process. So this is a great video. If you guys get a chance to watch it, I took some screenshots here of what it was like for Mo, but ultimately he's showing that he actually got his contracts. You can see him on 11/20/2020. You can find this exact information in your back office as well. 11/20/2020. 3 years later, exactly is when his contract dates will terminate. 11/21/2023 for him. And you can see this is an email that Mo got on exactly November 21st, 2023. And in essence, what this email says, all in, it says, Mo, come get your dough. That's exactly what it says, because it basically says, hey, regarding DeFi contract, et cetera, et cetera. He blacked it out because, again, that's his private business. But the DeFi 36 contract was offered, and ultimately now it's been terminated. This is what's happened. You've got a wallet balance of $501,487, because at the time, guys, two things were different back then a few years ago. One is they were still offering $43,200 loans for the 3-year contracts. I'm no longer doing that. That's only for 5 and 7 years. The 3 years is a $30,000 loan. But back when Mo did it, they were offering $43,000. The other thing is, and when he actually got into the system, they were having a special where if you got one of these contracts, you could get another one for free. So here it is. $501,000 is what it added up to over 3 years. They took off some end user fees, brought it down to $485. Now they have to give the bank back their money. Again, two $43,200 loans. That's $86,400. It's called a loan reversal. That's the money back to the bank. What's left over was $398,745.68. $398,745.68. I said it twice because I want you to see they deposited that right away into his back office. $398,745.68. Now, Mo then had the ability to simply go and withdraw his funds. And what he's showing you here off to the right is that money coming out. It's like I think it was like a 3% or 4% withdrawal fee. And the rest of it is sent to Mo's wallet off of Cryptex's system into his own custodial wallet. He's showing you his cell phone where he's got about 388 grand that he got here. It's 10.597 Bitcoin to be exact. This was back in 2023. You guys know if Mo had simply held that to 2025, all right? So this is back in November of 2023. If he had held it for what, a year and a couple of months to get into 2025, all of a sudden, instead of being this 10.597 Bitcoin, instead of being worth 388,000, it would have been worth over $1 million. So I don't know what he did with it, but hopefully he held on to some of it because the price of Bitcoin went up tremendously, as it tends to do. Okay, but that was him documenting his process. For me, though, I'm just a person who says, hey, if this is something that's truly a project that is decentralized and it's on the blockchain, then we can look at the blockchain for all the proof we need to see exactly what Cryptex is doing. The blockchain, for those of you who don't know, it's a database of transactions called a distributed ledger, and it's just something that's used to verify what's happening out there in the crypto space. All cryptocurrencies run on blockchain technology. It's transparent, secure, and public. But here's the best part. Cannot be faked. That is the part that really mattered to me. Hey, I don't care what you're saying. I appreciate some of the screenshots. I appreciate the video, but show me the blockchain. That's where I was. So what I'm going to do for you guys is show you exactly what we saw on the blockchain, because it was simple. As people started getting paid from Cryptex, one of the cool things you can do is when you get your payment, and you can do this when things are on the blockchain, you can simply look at where the payment came from, and you can track back to the payment wallet that it came from, and that's where you can see the type of volume that Cryptex has going through their payment wallet. So this was the first one that we looked at, that we actually got to see, and you guys can see this. You can freeze this video if you're watching this afterwards, and you can actually copy down that number, and you can look on the blockchain yourself on blockchain.com/explorer. And we saw that this was what's called a distribution wallet or a payment wallet, where ultimately it's always going to be at a zero balance, or maybe a couple of $1 million if you catch catch it right before someone withdraws, because in essence, people put in a withdrawal request, they send the money to this clearinghouse wallet, and then the money is withdrawn. So let's take a look at what was going on. This one wallet has transacted 26,530 times on the Bitcoin blockchain. And let's see what that actually comes down to for how much cryptocurrency that they've paid out through this one particular wallet. I want you guys to make sure you understand this number, because when I first saw it, I thought I was making a mistake. But here's how much it is: 52 billion. 682,588,662 almost $53 billion. In fact, I took this snapshot on May 13th. Today, it is over $53 billion, just for complete transparency, in case you look it up and say, it's more than he said. He lied. Did not lie. Just not going to take a screenshot every single day. But guys, you understand, 52 billion at the time of when this was taken, but $53 billion as of today has been actually paid out by Cryptex through this one wallet. And this is what it looks like, in case you go look this up on the blockchain, so you understand what you're seeing, guys. You're seeing green arrows coming in, and red arrows are the ones that are going out, which means people are withdrawing the commission. So somebody makes a withdrawal request, Cryptex sends in enough to cover that withdrawal from multiple locations, and then the person withdraws it out of the Cryptex payment wallet into their own wallet. So here's a guy who took out $6.9 million on May 13th. Another person, May 13th of 2025. We're talking about this year, guys. $451,544. Not as much as $6.9 million, but I'd be happy to get that too. Another person withdrawing $4.99 million again here on May 13th, and another withdrawal on May 12th. $5 million, $5,038,000 being withdrawn here on May 12th. And that's just for this one wallet. Okay. So you're going to see this every day or every few days or whatever. It just all depends on 3 years back, 5 years back, 7 years back, exactly what days that people actually get contracts. And now 3 years, 5 years, 7 years later, on those days, exactly to the day, these things are happening. People are taking their withdrawals, and you got some stuff. Some days it's amazing. You know, you might see 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 transactions on one day. Some days it skips over a couple of days, and then it's another bunch of transactions. But this is incredible to see. Guys, here's another wallet. This wallet has been around longer for Cryptex, 189,000 plus transactions on the blockchain. But check out this number, guys. Seriously, this is the one that blew me away. I thought the other number was big. 516 billion. $241,580,691. Again, $516 billion again through one Cryptex clearinghouse wallet. That is absolutely amazing. Almost, not almost, a little bit more than $500 billion have gone through here in Bitcoin that's been paid out to different Cryptex affiliates all over the world. So that was actually incredible. Now, the second elephant in the room, because I showed this to a friend of mine. He said, okay, I got it. So clearly, blockchain can't be fake. There's billions of dollars that Cryptex is paying out. But how do I know that this isn't just a $100 Ponzi scheme? They're just taking all those $100. They got so many people. You said 800,000 people. That's a lot of money. They're taking that and they're simply paying out the new people with the old money, and they're not really doing any of this. Guys, let's do some quick math for that. $100, right? I said there's a little more than 800,000 people. Let's round it up to 900,000. Let's go all the way up. Let's make the number even bigger. 900,000 members. They haven't even gotten there yet, but if we did, at $100 each, would be 90 million. Right? Let's say all of those people, they all got 80 contracts. We know they didn't, but let's say they did. Hey, we're going for it. Okay. If all of them got 80 contracts, that would be 90 million times 80 contracts. That would be $7.2 billion. No doubt that's a big number, just not big enough. I just showed you two wallets. The smaller wallet had $52 billion paid out. That's $45 billion more than they could have taken in this hypothetical scenario where we intentionally increased all the potential, right? So where'd the other $45 billion come from in this wallet? Where'd the other $516 billion come from in the other wallet? There's only one explanation. They're doing what they said that they're doing. Every $100 is not representative of $100. It's representative of 30,000, of 42,000, et cetera, et cetera. It's being magnified a ton of times because banks are making these loans on your behalf. That's the money that is then micro compounded and is producing phenomenal results. That's why they're able to pay out tens and tens and tens and hundreds of billions of dollars in these incredible rewards to people after their staking contracts. Now, if you understand that and you get it, let's just kind of wrap up here talking briefly about this optional referral program, because if you get excited about this like we are, you're going to want to go out and share this. In fact, I can't in good conscience not share this with people that I care about once I really realized what it was. So ultimately, I've heard people say, well, Cryptex is amazing. It's a great 3, 5, or 7-year retirement plan, and I'll treat it that way. Too bad there's no money that I can make right now up front. Yeah, let's talk about that, because you're completely wrong if that's what you believe. Cryptex has one of the most generous compensation plans that I've ever seen, and they're going to pay you 3 different ways. I'm going to go through all 3 of them, and you guys can get a solid understanding of what's going on here. Here's the first way. On the front end, right? So that means when you refer this to someone and they pay that $100 processing fee, then ultimately you're going to be in position to earn anywhere from 30% down to 3% through 10 levels of referrals just based off of that $100 processing fee. Here's the best part. The only thing you need to do to qualify for all 10 levels of commissions is sign up for Cryptex and activate with at least 1 contract of your own. That's it. No hoops to jump through, no nothing. You sign up and you activate with just 1 contract of your own, and now you can be compensated through 10 levels of referrals. That alone is incredibly generous. But here's what I love. On the first level, it's 30%. So if you refer somebody, they go out, they get 1 contract, you'll make $30. If they get 10 contracts, you'll make $300. Real easy math, really simple to figure out. And then they're going to give you 5% of your second level, your third level, your fourth level, et cetera, down through 10 levels of compensation. Again, incredibly generous. The only question you have to ask yourself when you see something like this is, what is realistic? I mean, honestly, if you were going to go out and share this with some people that you cared about, if you just simply asked yourself a question, you said, hey, who do I know that could truly benefit from having, another 300, 500,000, another million, another 5 million, like some of those withdrawals you just saw 3 years, 5 years, 7 years down the road. Who do I know that could benefit from that? How many people would that be? Or better yet, who do I know that if I didn't tell them, and 3 years comes, 3 years comes and goes, and I'm cashing out for millions of dollars, they're not going to be very happy with me because I kept it to myself? How big is that list of people? I said, let's keep it simple. Let's imagine that you only told and shared this with 3 people who in turn turned around and did the same. Guys, you can still see that over time through 10 levels, the math still gets pretty big. And then let's say that unlike the people that we're working with who are all going out for 80 contracts, let's say on average, everybody only ended up with 10 contracts each. So here's the amount of contracts you'd have at each level. Here's your payout from each level. Here's the commissions you'd be earning in each level. And you can clearly see that this goes from the hundreds to the thousands, into the tens of thousands, the hundreds of thousands, and then into the millions of dollars. Okay. So for people thinking you can't earn money on the front end of Cryptex, they're really not paying attention to how it works. Now, let's talk about something else that they do that just makes this even more of a stellar opportunity. Cryptex says, listen, we're going to pay you that money on the front end. We're going to pay you that percentage based off of the $100 processing fee. But on the back end, we're going to pay you off of the executed value of the contract. So you get another hit. What does that mean? It means, first of all, we're going to pay you through 20 levels on the back end when the contracts terminate. And what we're talking about is simply this. Remember, from the previous screen, we said, hey, on level 5, you had 243 referrals, 2,430 contracts total. You earned 4% of 100, so $4 for each one. You made $9,720 when these contracts came on board in the front end. But look at the back end of that, because now we're talking about 4%, not of $100. We're talking about 4% of the executed value of the contract. So if these are 3-year contracts, it's $35,000 plus. Guys, if they're 5-year or 7-year contracts, this math I'm about to show you is even more insane. But let's just say they're the smallest contract, the 3-year contract. 4% of 35 grand is $1,400. You're going to get $1,400 for each one of these contracts on the back end. That times 2,430 is $3.4 million. Guys, think about those withdrawals we saw in that blockchain wallet, $6 million, $4 million, $5 million. Now you're starting to understand how people are able to accumulate that level of income and wealth in a short period of time. It's because they're going out there and they're simply sharing the Cryptex offer with people, and they're starting to go out and get paid through these levels of referrals. Now, finally, for those of you that are the leaders right now, I know Bitcoin Mike talked about, the teams that I've built and what I've done in this industry over the past 30 years. That's nothing, honestly, compared to what he's done, and compared to what many of the other leaders that are here have done, and potentially compared to what you've done. And if you can get excited about this, if you want to go out because you've been this big builder, or you just like to talk to people, and you like to network when you get passionate about something, if you can go out and share this with 100 people, you have no time limit to do that, by the way. You can do that in a month. You can do that in 6 months, a year, 2 years. But if you can share it with 100 people who get at least one contract, and when that's completed, on your entire team, you've got at least 1,000 contracts total throughout your entire team, right? When that happens, you're going to right away get a $5,000 bonus from Cryptex just for getting that done. But then going forward, every single month that you have at least 100 new contracts, not people, new contracts coming on board between your first and second level, Cryptex then, because now they're going to consider you at this leader bonus qualified level, they're going to give you $5 for every single contract that's joining your team and coming in through your team through infinity, not through 10 levels, not through 20 levels, through infinity, guys. So just as an example, we talked about in the front end, 7th level, 2,187 referrals, 21,870 contracts. You made $3 for each one, 65 grand. That's not bad, right? But what I want to show you is if by time you got to your 7th level and you filled this out, you had already hit the leader bonus. This is what you would get in addition to that 65 grand. Another $5 per contract. That's another $100,000. That's bigger than this number is here. You're getting paid more for the leader bonus than you were getting actually paid for the normal generation payout. And this number, again, $5 is through infinity, infinite levels. This is absolutely insane. Now, to show you that Cryptex is trying to pay people and not keep the money, guys, listen, if you get the 100 new contracts, like I said, between your first 2 levels, they'll give you that $5 bonus every single month through infinite levels. If you can only get 50, they'll still give you a $2 bonus. And if you can only get 20, they'll still give you a $1 bonus through infinite levels. That all starts to add up and stack up as the referrals are happening. Finally, guys, I want to show you a 3-year case study. I like to deal in the real, if you will. I like to show what's actually happened for people. That's one of the great things about having a company that's been around for a while. It doesn't have to be all theoretical. We can just go find people who've been around longer than us and say, hey, can we copy this? We'll keep your identity safe, but can we get a snapshot? So this gentleman allowed us to take a snapshot of his back office. What you can see is his overview profits locked, $7.6 million. Again, that's an amazing amount of money. By the way, this is after 3 years and 3 months. So keep that in mind, $7.6 million and growing, because this is what's happening from the staking of his personal contracts here, $4.7 million, and his referral staking, which is the contracts on his team, $2.8 million. Keep in mind that until these contracts actually get to their termination terms of 3 years, 5 years, or 7 years, this number will get bigger every single day. Eventually, some of these contracts are for 5 and 7 years. This number might get to 10 or 15 or 20 million or more as we go for the next few years on some of those contracts. What I want to show you here, though, is what this person earned along the way. $2.1 million. So while they were waiting for this numbers, for these contracts over here to unlock, and as they unlock, they move over here, they earned still $2.1 million. Here's how they did it. From the 10-level referral program, over 3 years and 3 months, they made $584,854. At some point along their journey, they got those 100 frontline people that we talked about. So they qualified for the leader program. From the leader program, I'm not sure how long it took them to hit, but from that leader program, if it took them a year, and then over the last 2 years, if it took them 2 years over the last year, they made $912,000. They made even more money from the leader program than the whole other 10-level referral. But you add it up, and that's $1.5 million in 3 years that they picked up on the front end just by going out there and sharing Cryptex. Now, also because we're 3 years and 3 months in, you can see that a few of their team contracts opened up. So they got paid $289,000 so far from those team contracts, from that back end compensation. And then 4 of their personal contracts opened up. It shows that 4 right here. They made $316,875 from the 4 contracts that they had that opened up so far. And again, as this number gets bigger and bigger, we get later and later in the time, these contracts start to open up. All of this moves over here. Eventually, they'll get this whole 7.6828 million and more, because this number is going to get bigger and bigger until they get to their 7-year period, or actually later with some of their team contracts. So think about the wealth that's been created by this one person for making the decision to align themselves with Cryptex. Guys, the final elephant in the room. Why is everything kept anonymous, man? Why don't they just tell us who all the banks are and who all the, the insurance companies are and who all the people are that are withdrawing the millions of dollars? I want to see them. I want to get their faces on video. I want to see them on the 6 o'clock news. Why? Guys, let me just give you a little bit of a history lesson, and then we're going to be done when we talk about anonymity. Okay. Bitcoin, everybody's heard of it. Even if you don't know the story, you heard of it, you know it's a real thing, and you know it's an incredibly valuable asset right now that people are clamoring and trying to figure out how to get. Well, Bitcoin, which was based on a free market ideology, it was invented in 2008 when an unknown entity published a white paper under the pseudonym of Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, we don't know what the real name is, but we know it's not Satoshi Nakamoto, right? We don't. And I'll tell you right now, they actually believe it wasn't a person. It was a group of developers. Now, what we do know for a fact, though, is why they actually came out and did this, because they were pissed, because they were mad, because in 2008, the housing industry, it crashed, and the banks knew it was going to crash. They didn't say anything to anyone. They let it happen. They basically almost obliterated the entire world economy. People lost their homes. They lost their life savings. Some people couldn't take the pressure and they committed suicide, so they lost their lives, right? All of that happened back in 2008 when that crashed. And these people were pissed because when all of that happened, the banks suffered no consequences at all. Even though they knew, even though they were responsible, they got bailed out by our tax dollars, and many of them even got big bonuses while other people lost all of their life savings. So the people who wrote the white paper for Bitcoin, they wrote it because they wanted to create the people's money, something that was outside of the banking system and was incredibly transparent, so that could never happen again. That's why they created Bitcoin. Now, guess what? In the beginning, 2009, Bitcoin was a joke. 0.003, okay, 1/3 of a penny. Nobody was paying attention to it. In fact, they were laughing. By 2011, no more laughter. Bitcoin achieved parity with the US dollar. One Bitcoin was worth $1. And here we are 14 years later in 2025. One Bitcoin is now worth over $100,000 today. Now, as a result, there are over 25,000 cryptocurrencies today with a combined market cap value of over 3.3 trillion with the T dollars, and Bitcoin still dominates with a $2 trillion market cap. There are over 172,000 crypto millionaires, 320 people that are worth more than $100 million from crypto, and 28 crypto billionaires, all because Bitcoin was allowed to make this run. Now, here's the question. When you think about $3.3 trillion, and when you understand that the vast majority of that wealth is not being kept in the banking system where they can profit from it and control it, it's being kept on digital wallets outside of their control and outside of their profitability, do you believe that as they saw this growing, if they knew who Satoshi Nakamoto was, they would have let Bitcoin happen? Absolutely not. They knew this. This is why they decided to publish anonymously, because they knew where Bitcoin was going to go. They knew how it was going to grow. And they knew that if people knew who they were, if the banks knew who they were, they would have tried everything to annihilate them and annihilate their credibility, to literally strangle Bitcoin in the crib. Didn't happen though. Bitcoin is one of the biggest success stories in the world. In fact, it's the greatest return of investment in the history of the world by a long margin. Guys, when you look at Cryptex, the banks, the insurance companies, smart contract creators, and us, all anonymous. Remember, they don't ask your name. They don't need to because of this setup. That's for our benefit. This has allowed Cryptex to operate uninterrupted since 2016, and they are set up and for continued prosperity, guys. The combination of anonymous banks, insurance companies, and account holders has paved the way for one of the largest wealth creation vehicles in history, and the anonymity, that is our friend. That protects it. If this makes sense to you now, if you're satisfied with our answers to the elephants in the room, if you believe that every single person under the sun, or at least every single person in your sphere of influence, should have some of these contracts in their wealth management portfolio like we believe, then get started, man. Get your questions answered and get started ASAP. Guys, if you do decide that you want to do this, that's awesome. Let the person who referred you know, but let me be the first to say welcome to the team. We not only look forward to working with you, and we look forward to actually, observing your journey and celebrating your success and helping you go out there and share this with the world. So with that said, Mike, I appreciate you, man. Again, appreciate you for getting this set up. As always, I want to turn the call back to you, sir, and we'll be right back at this tomorrow at the same exact time.